here's another video. I feel a bit sick today, so bear with me. But I wanted to do a video that basically gave you 5 tips on how you could begin to start planning your travels and things that you could do which maybe help you direct how you want to travel, where you want to travel, and make you feel confident about your decision. Because obviously you're going to be in a completely new environment. It may feel a bit scary at the beginning, and yeah, as my dad always says, if you don't prepare to fail. So yeah, let's begin. I think my first piece of advice would be to think of one country that you'd absolutely love to go to. You don't really need to go to it because of any particular reason. Maybe it just draws your attention. But yeah, I think once you find one place, it'll be easier to find out how the rest of your trip is going to look, what other places you might want to go. Maybe you just want to stay in that country the whole time. For me, when I decided to go on my first travel, I decided to go to Vietnam. And to be honest, I didn't really know that much about the culture or the country, but I wanted to go somewhere which was really different to the UK, and Asia as a continent just seemed like a place that was totally different. I also knew that Vietnam, a lot of people have kind of travelled there, so it wouldn't be like going to a country in which there weren't any hostels and stuff. And for me, it was important to stay in hostels because it made me feel a bit safer in the beginning. I got this globe today, which is really sweet, but it might be nice for you to think about a globe in your head, and then you think about where on this globe really kind of like piques your interest. When I was younger, me and my dad used to look at the globe and find different countries and capitals, so maybe that's why I started traveling in the first place. I think my second tip would be to buy a travel guide. Here's the one that I had for Vietnam, and I also had a Lonely Planet one. I think travel guides are really good because they can kind of give you an overall context about the country that you're going to be visiting, the different cities or locations within it, some nice kind of recommendations of museums or restaurants or street food that you need to try out, information about the currency, what to do in an emergency, which places are safe, and in some cases which places you need to avoid. And yeah, it's also just comforting to have a book because then you can kind of get in the mindset of oh, this is actually going to happen. And I think it makes you also see, well, the person who's written this book has travelled, lots of other people must have travelled and gone to this place. So actually it's not as intimidating as it was originally, and it kind of makes you excited because at least you have a bit of a background information, and therefore when you arrive, you're going to know a bit more about what you're doing, and you may know a bit better, how to get to your hostel and the kind of things that you're going to encounter. You can already start savouring the first meal that you're going to have. In my case, I think it was a banh mi. It's a really nice kind of sandwich from Vietnam, and it's absolutely delicious. But yeah, having a travel guide just helps you get into that mindset beforehand, and also in the comfort of your own home. I think my third bit of advice would be, once you know which country you're going to start in and you've got a guide, the guide also doesn't need to be a book. It can be something you found online, it can be something that ChatGPT tells you, but yeah, try and find some kind of reliable sources. Well, anyway, my third piece of advice would be to locate the exact place that you're going to stay on your first night. That way, when you arrive at the country, you feel a bit safer because you already know where you're going. In my case, I booked my first hostel in Vietnam when I was back in England, and then when I got to the airport, it was easier to navigate there, and I had a point of reference, and I could kind of WhatsApp the hostel before and say to them, hi, I'm on my way and everything's okay, and then you at least feel like somebody is aware of you. You know where you're going, and it's just good for your peace of mind. And yeah, I think it's important, make sure that the first place you're going has good reviews. It seems like a nice environment, people say good things about it, because the first place you arrive is going to determine how the rest of your trip starts to unfold. It's going to determine the people you first encounter. It's going to determine the recommendations that people give you. And I think it's good to try and start your trip on a kind of good step, or like in a good way, because then you're going to feel more confident, and then you're going to be more willing to do other things. For example, the hostel I picked, I was really happy I chose it because I met some really lovely people. Like, the guests were super lovely. We went out the first night, we had some beers, and then I ended up going to a different part of Vietnam with some of them, and we ended up traveling together. And I think because of the fact that I chose a nice social place, it meant that I just felt really good from the offset, and then that kind of like removed a lot of my nerves and meant I can really enjoy my experience. So yeah, make sure to choose a good place at the beginning. My fourth tip is a bit about how you can kind of like prepare before you go. It's about kind of like money-wise budgeting for your trip. I know that if you want to go for a 6-month trip, you may need to do a bit of saving. And a good way that you could kind of like encourage yourself to do that is to create a new bank account and just kind of like title it, you know, traveling budget. And every time you get paid, you can put a bit of your money into that traveling budget bank account. And that will get you slowly to a place where you feel more comfortable about, okay, I've saved enough up enough money to go away, and you feel more like you can really enjoy yourself. And yeah, it's just a nice kind of way to work towards your travel. And each time you kind of put some more money in, it's going to feel like more of a reality, and yeah, it's just going to make the trip be possible for you. I think my final bit of advice would be to download the Hosteworld app. It's basically a platform in which you can find hostels all over the world. And I think it's really good because it just gives you a bit of peace of mind. For example, if you're traveling in Thailand, let's say, you could, while you're still in your home, start looking up different hostels. And then you can kind of see that there's lots of hostels, there's lots of reviews, there's lots of people out there, and it just gives you a bit of comfort, because then you think, yeah, maybe I'm going to the other side of the world, but lots of other people are doing it too. And you know, you see all these great reviews of people having fun. So just a good way, again, to kind of get you into the mindset of like, traveling can be a really cool experience, and slowly, like bit by bit, you'll become less fearful, and you'll start kind of get really excited about your trip. And yeah, I think they're my 5 important tips for now. So yeah, I hope they help you if you're kind of thinking about traveling or don't really know where to start when you're planning your trip. Let me know if they do, leave a comment below. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and hopefully see you next week. Bye!